One of the most common questions that we receive is, after holding a residence permit under the Golden Visa program for 5 years, what happens when applying for permanent residence? And more importantly, will the Golden Visa minimum stay requirements still apply? Does the investment still need to be maintained after the PR is granted? And what happens if the investment is later sold under the buyback structure? Do we need a proof of accommodation in Portugal? And what should investors expect regarding the government fees and processing timeline for permanent residence in Portugal? Hello everyone, I'm Winter, and welcome to American Asia Processing Corner. Today I'd like to talk about an important topic that many gold investors have recently been asking about, the permanent residence in Portugal, especially after the recent changes to the Portuguese national law and the Golden Visa regime. So in this video, I'll walk you through the current legal framework based on the Portuguese immigration law and the legal interpretation. Let's get started. First of all, it is important to understand that the Portuguese law distinguishes between two different types of permanent residence. The first category is the permanent residence under the investment regime, meaning the residency connected to the Golden Visa framework, and the second category is the general permanent residence, which applies to the regular residence permit holders. So this distinction is important because the legal rules regarding the physical stay requirements are different. For Golden Visa investors, the applicable legal framework is based on the combined interpretation of Article 65C and K of the Regulatory Decree number 84 of 2007, together with the Article 85 of Law number 23 in 2007. So in practice, Article 65K creates an exception to the general absence rules normally applicable to the permanent residence holders. Under the general regime, a permanent residence permit may be cancelled if the holder remains outside Portugal for more than 24 consecutive months or 30 non-consecutive months within a 3-year period. However, this rule does not apply in the same way to permanent residents under the investment regime. So, at the same time, Article 65C still maintains the minimum stay obligation linked to the Golden Visa framework. Therefore, Golden Visa investors who obtain permanent residence are generally understood to remain subject to the minimum stay requirement of 7 days per year in Portugal. So in practice, Portugal currently operates under two different permanent residence frameworks. The permanent residence under the investment regime with specific Golden Visa exceptions and stay requirements, and a general permanent residence subject to the ordinary absence rules. Now, let's talk briefly about the eligibility for permanent residence. So under Article 80 of Law number 23, 2007, applicants may generally apply for permanent residence after legally holding the temporary residence in Portugal for at least 5 years. At the time of the application, IMA normally requires a full updated documentation package, including a valid passport, proof of stable and regular income, proof of accommodation in Portugal, criminal record certificate, proof of A2 Portuguese language level, and proof of tax and social security compliance. Another important point investors should understand relates to the proof of accommodation in Portugal, especially after a permanent residence has been granted and the investment is later sold under the buyback structure. So under Portuguese immigration rules, proof of accommodation remains the mandatory requirement for both permanent residence application and future PR renewals. One common misunderstanding is whether an investment unit, for example, American investment property or hotel unit, can automatically qualify as proof of accommodation. So legally speaking, the answer is generally no. Under the Portuguese immigration framework, proof of accommodation must refer to a real residential address demonstrating that the resident has accommodation available in Portugal. And an investment unit or hotel unit is generally not considered sufficient for this purpose. Acceptable forms of proof of accommodation may include ownership of a residential property, a valid lease agreement with rent payment. This means the resident may continue renewing permanent residence under the Golden Visa pathway, even after the investment has been sold. However, the accommodation requirements still continues to apply, such as the ownership certificate of a residential property or lease agreement or residential declaration for future PR renewals. Another important point investors should pay attention to is the difference in government fees depending on the permanent residence category. So for permanent residence under the investment regime, application analysis fee is €632.10. For the resident permit issuance fee would be €8,840. And for the general permanent residents, the total government fee including the application and license and residence card issuance is approximately around €363.20. So in practice, the applicable fee structure can be significantly different depending on whether the applicant remains under the investment framework or falls under the general PR regime. Please also note that these government fees are subject to change depending on future Portuguese regulations and official IMF fee updates applicable at the relevant time. Now, regarding the timeline, the current average processing time for permanent residents is approximately 6 months. However, this timeline should be understood as indicative only, since processing times remain highly dependent on IMS operational capacity, appointment availability, and administrative workload at a relevant time. Of course, every case can still involve different practical circumstances, especially depending on the timing, residence history, and the specific legal structure of the investment and residence category involved. So if you are a Golden Visa investor approaching your 5-year eligibility period and would like a more detailed assessment regarding a permanent residence, citizenship, timing, stay requirements, or investment exit strategy, feel free to contact American Asia for further guidance. This video is also part of our ongoing training series for American Asia's international partners around the world. We also welcome new strategic partners interested in collaborating with American and learning more about our investment and real estate opportunities in Portugal and other international markets. And of course, don't forget to follow American Asia so you can stay updated with our upcoming episode and immigration insights. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.